Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yasodanandana Vraja Janaranjana. Yasodanandana Vraja Janaranjana. Yamunatira Vanachari. Yamunatira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yasodanandana Vraja Janaranjana. Yasodanandana Vraja Janaranjana. Yasodanandana Vraja Janaranjana. Yamunatira Vanachari. Yamunatira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Shri Radhe. Jaya Radha Gopinata Radha Gopinata Shri Radhe. Jaya Radha Shama Sundar Radha Shama Sundar Shri Radhe. Jaya Krishna Balaram Krishna Balaram Krishna Balaram Jaya Krishna Balaram. Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Om Viṣṇu Purāṇa Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Swami. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Paschatya Desatarine Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manovishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamaya Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Jutapada Kamalang Shri Gurung Vaishnavamscha Serupam Sagrajatan Sahagana Raghunatan Ditam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sabadotam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Visakanvitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dīnabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrisabhano Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and purport By His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Chapter 2, Contents of the Gita Summarized, text number 16. Nāsato vidyate bhāvo. Nāsato vidyate bhāvo. Nābhāvo vidyate sataḥ. Nābhāvo vidyate sataḥ. Ubhayor api dṛṣṭo ntas. Ubhayor api dṛṣṭo ntas. Tu anayos tattva-darśibhiḥ. Nāsato vidyate bhāvo. Nābhāvo vidyate sataḥ. Ubhayor api dṛṣṭo ntas. Tu anayos tattva-darśibhiḥ. Nāsato vidyate bhāvo. Nābhāvo vidyate sataḥ. Vidyate bhāvo. Nābhāvo vidyate sataḥ. Ubhayor api dṛṣṭo ntas. Nāsato vidyate bhāvo. Mataji. Nāsato vidyate bhāvo. Nābhāvo vidyate sataḥ. Ubhayor api dṛṣṭo ntas. Tu anayos tattva-darśibhiḥ. Word for word meaning? Na, never. Asataḥ, of the non-existent. Vidyate, there is. Bhāvaḥ, endurance. Na, never. Abhāvaḥ, changing quality. Vidyate, there is. Sataḥ, of the eternal. Ubhayor, of the two. Api, verily. dṛṣṭa, observed. Antaḥ, conclusion. Tu, indeed. Anayoḥ, of them. Tattva, of the truth. Darśibhiḥ, by the seers. Translation. Those who are seers of the truth have concluded that of the non-existent, the material body, there is no endurance, and of the eternal, the soul, there is no change. This they have concluded by studying the nature of both. Please repeat. Those who are seers of the truth, have concluded that of the non-existent, the material body, there is no endurance, and of the eternal, the soul, there is no change. This they have concluded by studying the nature of both. Purport. There is no endurance of the changing body. That the body is changing every moment by the actions and reactions of the different cells is admitted by modern medical science. And thus, growth and old age are taking place in the body. But the spirit soul exists permanently, remaining the same despite all changes of the body and the mind. That is the difference between matter and spirit. By nature, the body is ever changing, and the soul is eternal. This conclusion is established by all classes of seers of the truth, both impersonalist and personalist. In the Viṣṇu Purāṇa, Canto 2, Chapter 12, Text 38, it is stated that Viṣṇu and his abodes all have self-illuminated spiritual existence. Jyotimshi Viṣṇur Bhubanani Viṣṇu. The words existent and non-existent refer only to spirit and matter. That is the version of all seers of truth. This is the beginning of the instruction by the Lord to the living entities who are bewildered by the influence of ignorance. Removal of ignorance involves the reestablishment of the eternal relationship between the worshipper and the worshipable, and the consequent understanding of the difference between the part and parcel living entities and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One can understand the nature of the Supreme by thoroughly study of oneself, the difference between oneself and the Supreme Being, understood as the relationship between the part and the whole. In the Vedanta Sutras, as well as in Śrīmad Bhagavatam, the Supreme has been accepted as the origin of all emanations. Such emanations are experienced by superior and inferior natural sequences. The living entities belong to the superior nature, as it will be revealed in the 7th chapter. Although there is no difference between the energy and the energetic is accepted as the supreme, and the energy or nature is accepted as the subordinate. The living entities, therefore, are always subordinate to the Supreme Lord, as in the case of the master and the servant, or the teacher and the taught. Such clear knowledge is impossible to understand under the spell of ignorance, and to drive away such ignorance, the Lord teaches the Bhagavad Gita for the enlightenment of all living entities for all time. Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Nāsato vidyate bhāvo, nābhāvo vidyate sataḥ. Ubhayor api dṛṣṭo ntas, tu anayos tattva-darśibhiḥ. So these two words here, tattva-darśibhiḥ, the seers of the truth. In this verse specifically, it is mentioned Who are these seers of the truth? I'll look at the dictionary here. Seers means those who see the actual truth in the future. They see what's now and also in the future. Tattva-darśibhiḥ. They can understand what is matter and what is spirit. They can distinguish. As Prabhupada says, knowledge means understanding what is matter and what is spirit, and the origin of both. That is knowledge. Absolute knowledge is what you call also relative knowledge, like the modern day education, the academics, what they teach in school, universities, colleges, and different institutions of learning. It's not really absolute. It's called relative. It pertains to matter. And it says here, matter is of non-existent. Why is it non-existent? We can see, we can feel, we can touch this material body. This is matter. I can touch. I can feel if it's cold. I can feel if it's hot. It's like water. Earth, water, fire, air, ether. Sky, mind, intelligence, and ego. These are all 8 separated material elements. It is non-existent because it's temporary. It is not, it doesn't last. There's a beginning, there's a middle, and there's an end. Unlike the soul or the spirit, it says here, the non-existent is the material body, and there is no endurance for that. That means it's not everlasting. No endurance. It's like athletes. They're full of energy. But also, before the finish line, they run out of energy, running out. Sometimes they will even collapse crossing the finish line if there is a race. So that I mean by non-endurance. There is an end. Unlike the eternal soul, there is no change. There is no change. We are the same person who is embodied in this material form. Within this body, actually there are 2 souls. The super soul and the jiva. Paramatma and the living entity. The jiva. Spiritual spark. Now, somehow we are also told that the spiritual spark, the living entity who is embodied in this material body, is eternal. Even though we understood also and heard that there is a creation, we were created, but one cannot trace in the history when did that happen. It's not the same as giving birth to a child. Child being inside the womb of the mother for 10 months, and the child will come out. So it's like that is the birth of the body. It's not the birth of the soul. Some religion says, only in human form of life that there is soul. You ever heard of that? The trees, the animals, plants, insects, reptiles, mammals, aquatics, they don't have soul. Only when one comes out of the womb of a mother, a human mother, human form, then the soul took birth. But that is not so. The soul is always existing. It is only due to karma that we change our body, birth after birth, and it is eternal. Even though there is such a thing as creation, it doesn't have any end. It will not die, as we will hear also the nature of the soul afterwards. This verse, let me see the notes here. This verse gives the vision of seers of truth. That means they can distinguish between matter and spirit. These are the actual seers, or knower. Knower. There's another meaning of seers. Knower. The devotees of the Lord, they can understand this knowledge. And this is the beginning, it says here. This is the beginning of instruction by the Lord to the living entities who are bewildered by influence of ignorance. That's why in that prayer before Mangala Charanam, O Magyana Timirandasya Gyanangyana Shalakaya Chakshur O Militamyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my spiritual master opens my eyes with a torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. That means we're blind when we come in contact with the material energy. Even though we have eyes, we are also blind if we don't know what is the difference between matter and spirit. Blind, just like Dhritarashtra. Dhritarashtra, the father of the Kauravas, is blind externally, he cannot see, but he's also blind internally, inside. Devotees, we have devotees who are blind by birth, but by practicing Krishna consciousness. Now in Italy they have this Bhagavad Gita. What do you call it? Braille? Yeah? So they can read by using the fingers, by the touching the book. And they made so many devotees who are blind by doing that in Italy. So one can see internally also, even though he is externally, materially blind. So Dhritarashtra is both external and internal, both blind. But a devotee can be blind external, but he can see inside, if he knows how to distinguish between matter and spirit. And according to the modern science, body is keep on changing every moment. It's like every 12 years, our cells, the whole composition of the cells of the body changed completely. It's like from birth to 12 years old, it's like complete change. Then from 12 to 24 years old, complete change. From 24 to 36 years old, complete change. 36 to 48, complete change. 48 to 60. Who's over 60 years old here? Raise your hands. Now, all of our bodies completely changed. Then what's after that? 72. Yes. Oh, we have one 72 years old here. Prabhupada says old age starts at 70. That was when Srila Prabhupada crossed the Atlantic Ocean. Yes? With 2 heart attacks. But death can come any moment. That means everyone is old. The body is decaying also. As soon as we took birth, our body also starts to decay. Even though there's growth also. And that's why only the acharyas, they celebrate their appearance day. It's called Vyasa Puja. For general class of people, they also celebrate. They call it happy birthday, right? Birthday. Happy. But there's nothing to be happy because we are dying. If we're going to live forever, then we will be happy. I mean, in this body. But unfortunately, we're so attached with this body. Even though it is made of blood, mucus, pus, it's actually dirty. It's nothing beautiful in this body. You've heard the story of liquid beauty? Yeah? Well, there's a prince, he wanted to marry a very beautiful queen or princess. But the princess doesn't want to get married to this prince. So she promised to the prince, you come back after a few weeks, or 2-3 weeks, and yes, I will marry you. So what the princess did is that she took purgative or laxative. Purgative. Which one is what? Huh? Is the same? Purgative and laxative. So, and she put all her bowels and also she vomited in containers. And then after 2-3 weeks, the prince returned. And she saw this lady whose face is very emaciated, very skinny, and looking very, very pale. So he asked, where is the princess that he wanted to get married? He says, that's me. Really? No, that's not you. Okay, you really want to see me? Who is real me? Then she pointed out the different pots of stool and vomit and everything. So actually, there's nothing beautiful in this body. And also, if you take off this skin, others, they use cosmetics and some creams to make themselves beautiful externally. So let's say you peel off this skin, there's nothing beautiful in that one. But we're so attached with this body, which is changing every moment. Now the spirit soul exists permanently despite all changes of body and mind. The mind is chanchala. The body also is keep on changing, and the same with the mind, the center of all the senses. But it says also that when we leave this body, and somehow we're not able to finish or burn up all of our karma, then we have to take birth again. We will take birth in a womb of a different mother. Now, it depends on our activities and what we are thinking of at the time of death. That species where we are going to take birth is already ready. So not until it is ready, we still be alive. But once that is ready, and our quota of breathing in and out of air is finished, we all have certain amount of quantity of breathing in and out. How about the athletes? You know, when they do exercise or practice or jogging, they also breathe a lot of air, right? Breathing in and out. Then we take birth. But it says in a different form, but the mind goes along with the soul. These subtle elements, mind, intelligence, and ego. It goes along with the soul to the next body. That's why sometimes, even in Bhakti, you will see some devotees, they advance so fast, as if they have performed Bhakti in their previous lifetime. And some, they're very slow. I know one devotee, he did not take initiation not until after 10 years or so. More than 10 years. Maybe 20 or 30 years. It's very slow. So, that is the spirit soul. It exists permanently, but then we take up different forms, different lifetimes in this material world, birth after birth, different mother, different father, but at the same time, the soul never changes. We've heard that story of what? King Chitraketu? Yes? King Chitraketu, who had thousands of queens, and the queens, they cannot bear child. But there was one queen who somehow gave birth to a child, to a son. Now, the other queens became envious of this queen who gave child to the king. And they poisoned the son. They poisoned the child. But somehow or other, the son was revived. There was this Muni, a friend of Narad Muni. What's his name? Angira? Who? Parvat? Parvat Muni. So Parvat Muni, along with Narad Muni was there also. The child was revived. Was Narad Muni there? Somehow the child was asked, who are you? And he says, well, I've been to many, many different parents from before. That's who am I, and then I will take birth again in different mother and father. So it's the same thing with that story of Shiva Thakur's son. We told this story the other day. Shiva Thakur, his son also died, and then he was revived by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So all opinions agree. This conclusion is established by all classes of seers of truth, both impersonalist and personalist. Even the impersonalists or the Mayavadis, they also have concluded that there is a soul. But they don't accept the supremacy of the Lord. Like Hiranyakashipu, he knows the nature of the soul. Eternal, full of knowledge and bliss, but it's covered up. But somehow, no, he does not accept the supremacy of Lord Viṣṇu. So both can be seers, but the real seers of the truth are the devotees. Viṣṇu, it says here also, Viṣṇu and his abode all have self-illuminated spiritual existence. That is the destiny of those who have concluded and also worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They have reestablished their eternal relationship with the Supreme Lord. It's like I was saying also, Sarvakanta. Krishna is the lover of everyone, but we have forgotten that unique relationship that each and every one of us, having come in contact with the material energy, we have forgotten our relationship with Krishna. So therefore, in order to revive, because we are all in ignorance, we are bewildered, we have lost our intelligence. We identify ourselves with this body. And it says here, there are two kinds of ignorance. One who is identifying with matter, and one is identifying oneself as God. That is ignorance. To identify myself as the body, that is ignorance. And to identify myself as God, that is also ignorance. Even in Vrindavan, one must be very careful to hear to this so-called learned person. They're not really learned. They just speculate, or they think that they're God. They think that after one reaches the platform of liberation, then I become one with Narayan. Right now, I have forgotten that I am Narayan. But later on, when I have come to full knowledge, which is not really full knowledge, that when you come to full ignorance, then you think that you are one with Narayan. That is not so. That is really like the worst. Well, the worst is to think that the Supreme is an impersonal entity. So to remove our ignorance, we have to reestablish our relationship. And this is where Bhakti comes in. Bhakti means engaging our senses, including our mind and intelligence, in serving the Supreme Lord. That is reestablishment of our eternal relationship with Krishna. We are the worshipper, and the Supreme Lord is the object of worship, object of our love. The development of love towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead starts from hearing and chanting and accepting a bona fide spiritual master, one who has seen the truth. He is the real seer, spiritual master, or those who are highly advanced in spiritual knowledge. So we have to understand this difference between the part and parcel living entities and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We can remove our ignorance by doing so. Understanding the nature of the Supreme means one can understand by thorough study of oneself, the difference between oneself and the Supreme Being, understood as the relationship between the part and the whole. Even though the Supreme Lord manifests himself into unlimited forms, is still complete. And the parts and parcels, the living entities, Krishna is still complete, never diminished. His opulence still remains the same. It says here, the Supreme has been accepted as the source of all emanations in the Vedanta Sutras and the Srimad Bhagavatam. Janmadi Ashayataha, everything emanates from him. still remains the same. And the living entities belongs to superior nature. Although there is difference between energy and energetic, the energetic is accepted as the supreme, and the energy or nature is accepted as the subordinate. Ekala Isvara Krishna Ara Sarva Britaya. The living entities will always be subordinate. And there's only one Isvara. And there's only one maintainer. That is Krishna. We are the maintained. There's no way that we are going to be in the same level as Krishna. That's why another name for Krishna is Asamordva. Asamordva means no one is equal or greater than Krishna. No one can compete with Krishna. Well, we can compete with Krishna, but we will always be lower, subordinate. What's that name of that demon? Paundraka? Yes? In the Krishna book. So he disguised, or he wore the same collar of dhoti and like forearm form. He put 2 extra arms. He wanted to look like Krishna. But we cannot imitate Krishna. This implies the living entities are always subordinate, just like master and the servant, or teacher and the taught. So here in the Bhagavad Gita, even though Krishna is the chariot driver, but when it comes to imparting the knowledge about the soul, the living entities, Ispara, the Supreme Lord, Prakriti, nature, material nature, Kala, time, karma, and karma, the activities, he is above. He is the teacher. He is the chariot driver, but he is the teacher. He is the chauffeur, but he's telling Arjuna what to do. Does it happen in the material platform? No. You're not supposed to instruct your boss. Yeah? So ultimately, who is the boss? Krishna is the boss. Krishna is the Supreme Lord. So ultimately, the purpose of the Bhagavad Gita is to drive away all ignorance. We are full of ignorance. Those who says, I know Krishna, he does not know Krishna. It's like in India, when you give Bhagavad Gita, oh no, I know Krishna, I know Krishna. Because a devotee, he never accepts that he knows Krishna. Those who says, I know Bhagavad Gita, they don't know Bhagavad Gita. Oh yes, Prabhu, I read it already once. I already understood Bhagavad Gita. No. It may take us many, many lifetimes to understand Bhagavad Gita, but if we hear from the right source, within one lifetime, we'll be able to cross over the ocean of material sufferings. We can go back home, back to Godhead. So this is meant for the enlightenment of all the living entities for all time to come. That's why it is always fresh, ever fresh, like Krishna. Ever fresh, looking young all the time. Even though he was described, the conversation between Krishna and Arjuna 5,000 years ago, it'll always be there, the knowledge. But sometimes it's covered up, and sometimes the knowledge has been covered. It has to be revived. So we're very fortunate that this happened only 5,000 years ago. We have this opportunity As we mentioned earlier also, after 10,000 years, there's no more Bhagavad Gita reading. It'll be obscured. There's no more discussion of the Bhagavad Gita. So we're very fortunate. It's been translated into so many languages all over the world. We try to translate this also in our language in the Philippines. So they'll be given a chance to read, hear the words of Lord Krishna from the Bhagavad Gita. Okay, we stop here. Is there any points, any questions? Yes?
What does it mean to advance in bhakti?
What does it mean to advance in bhakti? To advance in bhakti means to increase your faith in the process, because it is a proven way how we can get closer to Krishna. Our love for Krishna has been covered up. So through bhakti, we make advancement, especially in association with the devotees. We can tell. It's like when you're hungry, you're weak, right? So when you start eating, you become satisfied and your energy increases. So in bhakti, when you follow it properly, that means don't speculate thinking that, oh, if I do this properly, or if I do this according to my own understanding, then I will quickly make advancement. No, there is a teacher. We need guru, we need spiritual master who can guide us, who can tell us what to do and what not to do. One who can dispel our ignorance, our doubts. So we make advancement in Krishna consciousness when we always think of Krishna. That is a sign. The more we think of Krishna, the more we are making advancement. In the beginning, it may be very difficult because of our just like woken up early in the morning. You just came from sleep. That is ignorance. But as you go to the washroom and then prepare yourself with a tilak, put on dhoti or sari, and then you come to the temple, have darshan of the Lord, then your ignorance start to go away. And then you're fully awake. You're fully awake. A person who is advanced in devotional service, he is enlightened. He can distinguish what are favorable and unfavorable in devotional service. So he avoid those things that are unfavorable in the execution, like unwanted association, bad association. You try to avoid them. That is a sign of one who's making an advancement in Krishna consciousness. You avoid those who will not help you in making advancement in Krishna consciousness. And you become attached to those who are attached to Krishna. You want to become like them. They're always happy. They're always joyful. They always wanted to serve. That means, and if you want to also in the mood of wanting to serve always, the devotees and others, non-devotees also, by giving them Krishna consciousness, that is a sign of you are making advancement. Yes. Krishna consciousness, you don't keep it to yourself alone. You always wanted to give. Bhakti. You're not the source of bhakti, but your bhakti is overflowing. You wanted to give it to others. If it's overflowing, what are you going to do? You give to others so they become fortunate also. That is a sign of you're making advancement. You cannot practice bhakti by yourself, alone. You practice bhakti with the devotees. Even those who are in the topmost level of bhakti, no way, they cannot be alone. Maybe sometimes they are alone, but also they are associating with others. Because that there is no man is an island. Have you heard of that? That means you cannot be. To be happy, you have to be with somebody. Arjuna was saying that, how can I enjoy the kingdom if all of them will die? How can I enjoy? Any other points or question? Everybody knows now what is the difference between matter and spirit? Who is the source? How do we reestablish our relationship? And what is the purpose of Krishna speaking the Bhagavad Gita? It's a very nice verse, isn't it? It's like complete. The whole philosophy of Bhagavad Gita is in that verse, 2:16. Okay, we stop here now. Srila Prabhupada Ki. Nitai Go Shitanath Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna.